It's good, you too, Cardfighting here. AQUA Life Baby, you already know. Um, it is late at night right now. It's pretty much one of the only times I have to be very busy for the next few days. But I wanted to do my clan booster overview for you guys. Just talking about the different cards and set. I'm very excited about this set. I wanted to educate myself. For a while playing a car fight area, play testing a bit. Somebody that joined in the stream I had about 2 days ago. Saw me playing against my brother and whatnot. Again, just getting used to educating myself on the cards. Seeing what they do and then figuring out where they can go. And I'm still learning, guys. I'm still practicing with the stuff. So yeah, there's still a lot more to be discovered, but so far I think I have a sufficient amount of knowledge that I can bring to you guys so that we could, so I could pretty much talk about it. So I'm going to screen share. I think I have it in the order of rarity because I was going to do it by like deck, like Ripple, Blue Wave, Blue Storm, things like that. But trying to set up the tabs the correct way and things like that on my Mac is just too much, and I ain't gonna do it. So I'm gonna just screen share and we are going to get started. Desktop. And this is gonna be on YouTube, so all right, I'm gonna keep track of it, keep track of the comments on my phone if anyone happens to join at 1:21 in the morning. All right. All right, so everything's good. Cool. So yeah, so this set brings us a lot of support for pretty much everything Aqua Force. There's some Legion support in here for the Tetra Burst and Michael and Milos Legion. There is a lot of Blue Storm support. Outside that for Maelstrom, but there's also some really good generic support for all Aqua Force decks, as well as supports for Thavas and Blue Waves, the Tetras, and the Ripples. And we're definitely going to get into a discussion about these Ripples, guys, because I'm on the fence about the validity of what they're doing right now, but I have play tested with it, and it is what it is. So enough about me talking about it. Let's just get into these cards. All right, so the card that's on the cover, Storm Dominator Commander Thavas. This card is very, very good, guys. So as you guys see, what it does is you just flip a copy of himself face up in the G zone once per turn, and then you get the ability of choose one of your rear guards. They get 5,000 power, and it can attack from the back row. Then at Generation Break 3 wave, fourth time, so fourth time only. You get to when you attack an opponent's Vanguard, your opponent chooses you choose 3 of your opponent's rear guards to retire. So pretty much you get the regular Thavas stride break ability. But this card is very, very good because you can use him as a first stride. From what I've seen, it's very popular in blue waves, with Anger Boil, because Anger Boil is like a mini Lambros, who we will get to later, and he gives you to GB2 so that you don't have to sit there and stride every turn to get really powerful columns or combos off. In that blue wave deck, he allows you to get to GB2 so you can go play that old school style with with his ability to restand things, give it plus 10,000. In addition, give him 5,000 himself, and play that game because you don't get the triple check, but you still get a pretty good numbers on swing plus boosting someone up to 10K. So, there's situations you'll swipe Tidal Assault at a rear guard, swing with after you use him to get to GB2, swing with Anger Boil. But again, we'll get into that more. But this guy is very good, and if you do use him as a mid-game stride, he's still good, especially if you use him on Thavas as a mid-game stride on Thavas. Is very good. So pretty much you use one ability to when something attacks in the fourth, it's like, all right, Thavas stride break ability, choose 3, your opponent retires 1, then Commander Thavas' ability, or either or, choose 3 and retire 1. So this card is very, very good. Now, he does have different uses in different decks. I don't see him being used in ripples at all. Usually, a lot of the people that are playing ripples don't use extra decks, but I like to use him if I'm not guaranteed to stride next turn. I can go into him, get to GB2, get a really nice turn off from his ability, and continue on from there. Use him as a mid-game stride to get a double retire off in a Thavas deck. If not, just get a nice retire off, a little bit of field control. But also, like, let's say you're playing, you're playing Thavas and you happen to be on Skiros or something like that. You could go into him, and then, if you're using the new starter for Thavas, who we will get to, you get to, you'll have a Thavas Vanguard, so you'll be able to call a Thavas out of your deck, attack with him, and then bounce it to your hand. So you can either ride him or use him, drop it to stride. So this guy has a lot of different uses. Now, usually you only play 2 in this deck. If you're just starting Aqua Force and you can't afford, Link, if you can't afford like Lambros or anything like that, I would definitely recommend picking up 4 copies of this card if possible. I still think Lambros is the best finisher in Aqua Force. Him and Tetra Ball right now are fighting for that, but I think Lambros does have the edge in some regards. But this guy is definitely a good card. If you can't get your Tetra Balls, if you can't get your Lambros, is definitely go in and pick this guy up, because I do think he will cost less initially starting out, because a lot of people are going to be running 2. But this card is very, very good and has a lot of different uses. Next card we're going to talk about. Now, I know this is not in rarity because I did this on accident, but we're just going to move this down here. All right, so next card we're going to talk about is Blue Wave Martial Dragon, Tetra Ball Dragon. Guys, I can't tell you how excited I was about this card. This card is absolutely amazing. Okay, I'm just checking some volume. Yep. So this card is actually very, very amazing. So what he does is at Generation Break 2, you Counterblast 1, you Persona Flip, and when he attacks a Vanguard. So this is at any point that he attacks a Vanguard, you do have to use, when you use his skill when he attacks a Vanguard. But for the rest of the turn, he gets the ability that if you have a Blue Wave Heart card, if you have a Heart card with Blue Wave in his card name, you get -1 drive check. So that means he's twin driving now. But he gets the ability that on the fourth battle only, you discard a card you choose a card from your hand and discard it. At the end of the battle, where your rear guard attacked a Vanguard, you stand this unit. So a lot of people, some people I saw playing this, watching some Cardfight area, we're getting, the ability confused. But even I've had a player who had the ability confused a bit. So yes, you have to have a Blue Wave Heart. Yes. Okay, so he gets -1 drive check. So you only twin drive. Now, when it says fourth time only, that means that when you do, usually what you do with him is you attack with him second. His first attack is second. So on the second attack, you Counterblast 1 and Persona Flip. That's when you pay the cost for his ability. Then when your rear guard, not him, when your rear guard attacks the Vanguard. So if on the 4th battle of the turn, if you use a rear guard to attack another rear guard, then you would not be able to get his restand ability, because you will now be on the 5th battle of the turn. This will be after the 4th battle, and you did not fulfill the condition of having your rear guard attack a Vanguard, whether it's a swipe that's not going to hit or a hit that's going to actually hit. You must attack the Vanguard in order to discard a card and restand the unit. Just like with Tetra Drive, your rear guard on the 4th battle only must attack an opponent's Vanguard regardless of where its power is at or where your opponent's power is at, in order for him to pay the cost, drop 2, Counterblast 2 in order to restand. But this guy is a very, very good game-ending type of card. You push your opponent to 3 and 4 damage, put him in that nice range. You could definitely do some heavy damage on your opponent. I mean, it's a restanding Vanguard. Why not? A lot of the lists I have seen run only 2 of him and 4 Lambros, so there is still a lot of debate whether Tetra Boil or Lambros is the better finisher for Aqua Force, and that's going to be up to you guys personally through your personal playtest experience, which one you deem better in a Blue Wave deck which one you deem better, Lambros or Tetraboil. I've been using 4 Tetraboil and like 2 Commander Thavas right now, and it's been working out very, very nicely for me. The restand pressure is nice. Cards like Fueos and Tylenol come in handy. Anger Boil's Stride Break skill, who we will get to, is absolutely amazing for this card. You know, pretty much saying that, well, I don't need a rear guard that's going to that, you know, like a Tidal Sword or Magnum Sword that hits the 4th battle. You know, if I stride over if I stride over Anger Boil, that means that I can just have 2 cards you know, to the right and left columns, and I will be able to use his restand skill because Anger Boil does restand a rear guard and gives it 3k. So again, this card is a very, very good pressure card, very good card. Now, this is one of the cards where you don't want to use it too early. Like if your opponent's on like 2 damage, that's playing you have a really grindy kind of defensive type of game. This is the type of card where you want to save it. You want to be like, dang, I'm going to hold back on my finishing type of move, and I'm going to grit my teeth. I'm going to go into Tidal Board. I'm going to go into Aristoteles. I can't believe I didn't bring Aristoteles up here. I'll bring Aristoteles up soon. But I'm going to go into one of those 2 cards, and I'm going to, you know, continue my pressure, you know, continue some more mid-game pressure, maybe go into Commander Thavas if you haven't, or even Lambros if you're playing 2 copies of him, you know, whatever it is. But I believe this guy is better saved for later in the game when your opponent's at, you know, 3 to 4 damage, you know, hand is low, and, you know, just the conditions are right. Same with Lambros. You know, sometimes doing Lambros when your opponent's on 2 damage, even 3 damage, can be detrimental, especially if they have room to take damage as well as a pretty sizable hand to block your attacks and then, you know, leave you kind of gassed afterwards. So definitely one of these cards where you want to save it for later, but he does have a pretty wide kill zone range. But it's a good card in general. It's a very, very, very good card, and I will definitely be looking to pick up 4 of these. Next, I already did the video on Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom, but you know, through some playtesting, my brother has been helping me out. This card is pretty good, but what we've noticed is that we have been ending games on Lambros. Excuse me. We've been ending games on Lambros more often than Maelstrom. The support around him and his name is good. He's definitely a good upgrade. So, you know, when you ride him early game, you attack. If you hit on the 3rd battle, you know, like right here, you hit on the 3rd battle and you get to search your deck for a Maelstrom unit. So you set up your cross ride, you set up your break ride, and then, you know, his break ride ability, like I said, break ride, your Vanguard gets, you counterblast 1, your Vanguard gets 10,000, and when it attacks a Vanguard on the 4th battle or more, wave 4, 4th time or more, you get to draw, get your initial +1 draw, retire one of your opponent's rear guards, and then your opponent cannot call grade 0 cards from hand to guard circle. So he essentially, you know, he becomes a silent Tom, so to speak, which is very, very good. But usually, what we've done with him is we like to use him for mid-game pressure. He's better than the original Maelstrom, RIP to OG Maelstrom, but this Maelstrom allows you to plus early game. Your opponent doesn't really want you hitting on that 3rd battle, so that you get stride fodder, so that you get you know, extra rear guards and other things like that, you know, perfect guard fodder and whatnot. So they'll generally block it, but sometimes they'll just survive it. So you have him combined with Mario's, you can get a double search off and clean your deck out of 2 grade 3s per turn sometimes if you hit on Mario's, but he's definitely a guaranteed search. So he's good for that factor. And then, you know, there are times where it's like, all right, well, I could stride here, but I can go for a cross-ride defense, especially, you know, if, you know, you're pushed to 4 damage, your opponent's sitting at like 2 or 3 damage, you know, you can go ahead, break ride Maelstrom reverse, break ride Glory Maelstrom, get yourself a nice 13k base defense, so it'll be a lot easier on you for guarding. Hopefully you hit some triggers and, you know, establish some control, but 13k defense is still very, very good in this format, guys. I can't tell you how many times where, you know, you would have 16k, especially in the mirror match against Aqua Force. You know, Aqua Force is one of our inherent weaknesses is that 13k base. And, you know, just being able to get to a 13k base off of a break right in this deck is very, very clutch in a lot of situations, and can mess up a lot of plays, for other clans too. It turns 5Ks into 10Ks, turn 10Ks into 15Ks, and it really messes up with numbers. So the break ride is definitely good, especially if you need to go on the defense a little bit, and when the situation calls for it. But yeah, very, very good. I'm definitely looking forward to building this deck, improving this deck, and playing with this deck. Right now the deck is quite weak, especially seeing what we have coming in the future. This deck is just, I want to figure out a way to have this deck better suited to take on field disruption decks, because the Rascal Sweeper column, although is really, really good, it does have its flaws where if it gets hit with Root Flare, gets hit with Big Crunch, things like that, it's just not kosher. And sometimes it also messes up with the Lambros players, where Rascal Sweeper has to be the first attack swinging at a Vanguard. And if you're trying to use like Tidal Assault on the rear guard circle and swipe at a rear guard so that you can resend him at 19K. Well, sometimes not going to work, because you're going to have to swing with 11 from Rascal Sweeper. Your opponent can use an intercept, or they can overguard and double intercept, and then that leaves you forced to swing 16 or whatever it is on the Vanguard with your Tidal Assault, restand, and swing with 4. So when you restand with Lambros, it will be 14K as opposed to 19K, which does make a pretty big difference, especially when it comes to guarding. Ooh, excuse me. Like I said, it's late. So you definitely want to watch out for that. But through more play testing, through more deck builds, through discovering how different cards work, there are some things that are very, very good about it. And this deck, I see a lot of potential in this deck. I'm probably going to rank the deck. I'm probably going to do another video ranking the deck, the different types of Aquaforce decks, pre-clan booster, after clan booster. But yeah, looking forward to it. Next card is Blue Wave Dragon, Anger Ball Dragon. If you guys don't know this, Tetra Drive was my absolute favorite. I love Maelstrom. He is my reminiscence card. Can't find the word right now, but it's the card that has a sentimental card. It has a lot of sentimental value. He's what got me into Vanguard, what got me started. But when when I started playing with him, I loved him. He was the card that we started topping tournaments with. But when Tetra Drive came out, Tetra Drive was like my man's. I can't tell you how large my win ratio was with him. I was that was one of my highlights in my my career in Vanguard so far. I was able to mesh really well with that type of deck, change it up a lot. You guys, if you guys go back in my videos, you guys see I've had a lot of undefeated finishes with my Tetra Drive decks in small and big tournaments. It was just amazing. But then as the formats changed and decks slowed down, then I went to Ohio, kind of lost track. But right now, Anger Ball Dragon, brought Tetra back. It's like, how dare you make Blue Wave Dragon, Tetra Burst Dragon, and the rest of Legion support for Aquaforce so bad? How dare you do that to us, Aquaforce, the legendary clan? Well, so be it. Someone got angry and decided to make Anger Boil, and I am head over heels for this card, guys. So again, what he does, Generation Break, Wave 2, second time. So remember, second battle only, guys. This is classic Tetra Drive. Tetra Drive has always activated his abilities on the second battle turn. Much like Tetra Boil, you need him to be your second swing in order for you to do your things for the fourth. This guy has got to be your second swing. So Generation Break 2. Wave second time. When he attacks an opponent's Vanguard, he gets 5,000. Then you take one of your rear guards standing, and that gets 10,000. So he is a mini Lambros. Not only does he put himself at 16K unboosted, which is still a pretty decent number nowadays. Even though, we're all used to Stride. 16,000 is a pretty decent number nowadays, but we also get to give a rearguard 10,000. Like I said, if you're playing Magnums, if you're playing Title Assaults, you can swipe at a rearguard, or even, yes, and since we're going to be playing Fueos, you swipe at a rearguard, then you swing with him at the Vanguard for 16 or more, 5K boost, that's a 21K on the Vanguard. Restand that thing, that's plus 10,000 power. Now, you have a Title Assault, or that can swing 19, restand, swing 21, Magnum Assault, boost, swing for like 26 if you have a 7K booster, swing for 26, restand, swing for 21. It's just an amazing ability that can definitely end games. And the one reason why I really like this ability, guys, is because it takes away the focus on the dependency of striding. Now that we've been through this format, and with decks like Thavas and things like that, there is just some striding. Like, the GB2 skills are okay at best from some cards, but the reliance on being able to stride is so important in a lot of decks. And this deck is one of those exceptions where, yes, striding is very, very good for the deck, especially if you're going into Tetra Ball for his stride break skill, but he lets you have massive gains, very, very powerful combo turns off of his GB2 ability. So he combines some of that nice old school limit break era, let's fight with the twin drive kind of thing. He brings that kind of back, but with a lot more power to it. So definitely a good card. Like I said, you combine him with Storm Dominator, Thavas, and you have a pretty nice combo because you're at GB2. So again, if you can't stride but you can establish somewhat of a field, go ahead and do that and play some old school Vanguard. Get your twin drive off, get your nice combo plays off. Now, his stride break ability is that when you stride Tetra Boil on him, you choose one of your Vanguards, it gets 3,000 power, and then wave second time. So again, this is only during the second battle only. You choose up to 2 of your rear guards, stand them, and they get power 3,000 until the end of turn. So what you do is you attack with 2 of your rear guards at a Vanguard, at a rear guard, depending on what you have, what you're attacking with. You don't want to swing at a rear guard with like a Vanguard with like Magnum Assault or Title Assault, and they have their abilities go off. You want to, use those units to swing at a Vanguard. But if you're swinging like with like 11, like an 18K column, a grade 3 and a 7K, so go ahead, swing at a Vanguard, force a 10K shell at their hand. So then swing with this, restand them, give them plus 3K. So that's plus 6K to that entire column, which means the 18 plus 6, now that's a 24K column. Hypothetically, if you have that column. So this guy creates 4 battles in himself when you stride break. So he pretty much says you are as long as you have a rear guard to the right and a rear guard to the left, or at least a Fueos, whatever, you are getting to the 4th battle so that you can restand Tetra Boil. This stride break ability is amazing. Now, he only works with Tetra Boil, so if you stride anything else, it's not going to work. But I mean, that's okay too, because again, we have his GB2 ability, and so what you want to do, what I've started to try to do, is I try to find that nice balance in between them. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't want to drop 2 grade 2s or triple grade 1s to stride. Hey, look, I'm at GB2. Let's go in with his ability. But when it's time to strike Tetra Bowl Dragon, if you feel like it's time to put on that final amount of pressure on them, definitely I would recommend doing that. But this card is very, very good, guys. He is like the leader of the deck now. If you do happen to ride Tetra Drive Dragon, is not all bad, especially if your opponent is playing the grade 2 game. Restand on their ass. And Fueos is a very, very, very good card for the deck, and he's not restricted by Generation Break. So we will get into him a little bit later, but definitely a good card that you do need. Next card. Get some water real quick. Check my volume. All right. All right, so next card is Jockey of the Great Sea, Skiros. So I saw a box opening by, what's his face? card otaku, and he was pretty pissed that he pulled like what 5 or 6 of this card during like his speed unboxing. And this is not. I mean, obviously you want to pull your Tetra Boils, your Commander Thavas, your Anger Boils and things like that. But if you're playing a Thavas deck, however you guys will say it, this guy is the backup of the year. Like this guy gets like comeback player of the year or something, most improved player of the year or something like that. Like this card is extremely good, guys, and very versatile. So yes, he is a triple rare, and he is like a badass with 2 guns riding this freaking seahorse. But what he does is at Generation Break 1, it's a continuous ability. All the units on your rearguard circle in your front row get resist. Now, let me read his second ability, then we'll get back to his first ability. When this unit is placed on Vanguard circle, you choose up to one of your units, and until end of turn, this gets auto Vanguard rearguard wave third time or more. So third battle or more. When it attacks an opponent's Vanguard, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, search for up to 1 grade 3 or greater card from among them, reveal it to your opponent, put it to your hand, shuffle your deck. So let's do it the second ability, because the first ability we're gonna talk quite a bit about. The second ability. Now, how you want to set up his second ability is that if you know you're going to end up riding him the turn you need to go into your grade 3, then what you want to do is you want to set up your field prior to that. Now, if you have like all Skiroses in your hand and you only have like a grade 2 one, whatever it is, and you're just having that bad of a time, okay, but what you want to do is, even if it's a trigger unit, you need to get another unit on the field, or plan ahead, move your starter to the right or left column, so that when you do ride him, you can get the ability to have that ability to check the top 5 for any grade 3. Usually you want to fish out your Thavas, but just having that ability is very, very key. And so before you do ride him, you want to make sure that your field is set up so that you can use that ability in the case you do have to ride him, unless you are planning to ride him and you need, and this is one of the things you wanted, and this is why we're going to get into his GB1 ability, the fact that all units in your front row get resist. This ability, guys, is absolutely amazing. I wasn't thinking too highly of this card until I watched some games, and then I actually played some games with this card myself, choosing to use him as my main Vanguard to ride for the game. So what he does is he offers us, at least in the Thavas deck, or even another deck, like if you're playing Ravon or something, please don't play Ravon, but if you're playing Ravon or something, he offers us an out to Link Jokers at times, to Link Jokers. He offers us an out to Conquest Dragon, to Kagero retiring, sometimes Root Flare, depending on how the column is looking. Anything that pimps, Blaster Dark Revenger. I mean, this guy is a godsend for those types of matchups. Generally, anything but brawlers, except sometimes brawlers, because brawlers do use Conquest Dragon and they do have Sky Howl. But at GB1, because your front row units get resist, it stops all of that. Conquest can't pop, Sky Howl can't pop. You can't do a frontal lock with Alter Ego Messiah. You can't Omega lock the column if you have 2 resist units, which we will definitely get into. You can't Omega lock column if you have two resist units. It is just a really good card. And so this is where I tell you guys, this adds a ton of versatility to our Thavas build for Aqua Force. It gives us a Vanguard to ride so that we have a better way of managing those types of matchups. I'm looking forward to playing this card, definitely. And I believe this card, for me, at least for in my meta, guys, is going to be a 4 of, yes, I love Max, and Max is just an amazing card as well. But for how and I'm probably going to end up maybe running 3 of him and 1 max, whatever, because I do like to come with max. But we're getting a lot of support in this set, guys, that we can definitely probably take out max and add 4 copies of him in, so that we have alternate writing depending on our matchups. Kind of like how mega colonies are like the anti-meta. Well, this helps us bring a little anti-meta-ish thing or anti-counter to, you know what, I know I'm rambling on. It's like really late at night, but again, this ability in the front row stops a lot of things, makes our opponent really think about how they want to attack us. Obviously, if we have a rear guard with resist in one column and something else in the back, and they have root flare or root flare, something like Blaster Joker, something that can pinpoint something in the back or just says all, then obviously the resist doesn't help. But the resist in the front row really helps against again, like I said, conquest dragons, anything that pinpoints. I mean, I know I probably repeated myself a few times, but I can't tell you how good it is just knowing that even though Thavas is your main Vanguard, this guy is good for matchups. Again, we talk about being situationally aware, being aware of the situation. What situation is your opponent, blowing things up with burnout all the time, blah, blah, blah. Well, he makes your opponent have to waste an attacking column at your tidal assaults, at your magnum assaults, where you can drop a 10k shooter block from, rather than them getting free advantage off of popping them through abilities. That he stops all of that and forces them to hold back their cards for the abilities, or actually just call it out to attack with. So this guy is very, very good, and we're going to definitely get some gameplay in with this guy, and hopefully I can show you how good he actually is. All right, now, Blue Wave Marine General Fueos. Guys, this card is amazing. I say that about a lot of Force cards, but this card truly is really good. So what he's pretty much now he only works in the Blue Wave deck, but he's pretty much like the Magnum Assault of Blue Waves, so to speak. You guys know how Magnum Assault is for Thavas. He's the Magnum Assault for Blue Waves. So what he does is wave 3rd time. So remember, it's the 3rd battle of the turn only, not the 4th, not the 5th, just only on the 3rd. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Blue Wave in his card name, pay the cost. So you just counterblast 1. He gains 2,000 power until the end of turn, and then at the end of that battle, you stand it. So when I read it first, I was like, okay, so you swing for 9, restand, and you're 11. No, you swing for 11. You counterblast 1. You're swinging for 11. Then you get to restand at 11k for the rest of the turn, and then you can get another attack in with him. So he's kind of like the Adelaide for he's like the Magnum Assault Adelaide for Blue Waves. Very, very good card. And one important thing is that, do you guys see Generation Break here at all? No, you don't. So you can use him. You can, if you're getting rushed down, like you're playing against Ripples, you're getting rushed down or whatever it is, go ahead, ride into your Tetra Drive. You can stack triggers on him, have him be your 3rd attack, swing with him on the 3rd battle, counterblast 1. That's plus 2k to whatever triggers you gave him, meaning that if you gave him at least 1 trigger, he'll be at 14, then he'll be at 16, he'll be at 16, restand, and then 16 again. That's absolutely amazing. He brings back that grade 2 type of rush that we need. I mean, him in conjunction with Tidal Assault have make for a deadly grade 2 rush turn. And especially if you're counter rushing your opponent, Vanguard or rear guard, things like that, any trigger effects, whatever, can go on to him, and then he will be able to reset as long as you have a Blue Wave Vanguard. Now, in order for him to do that at grade 2, you would have to have 2. You have to open up with 2 copies of him. Ride 1 copy, then call 1 out to the rear guard circle, and then have an additional card on the opposite side, so you make him your 3rd battle. But he's definitely a very, very, very good card, guys. And like I said, I'm not afraid of riding into grade 3, and all of your grade 3s are Blue Waves. And if it's what gets this guy's ability off and allows me to pressure with him, if I do have to call him out to the field earlier than I probably want to, then so be it. But this card, guys, is very, very, very good. And he is definitely a 4 of. I can't imagine anybody playing Blue Waves without 4 of this guy. This guy is going to be very good for a very, very long time. And definitely I would say stock up on him, because when the set goes out of print, just kind of like what the Ripples are, when a set goes out of print, and people are, and something happens with Blue Waves, whatever it is, people are going to be looking for this guy. All right, so next card, Battle Siren Adelaide. I like her. Now with the new support for Thavas, whatever how you gotta say it, the deck has gotten a lot more counterblast heavy. We have a lot more units in the deck that do counterblast. So because of that, we got to be able to manage your counter as well, which is why I think the G Perfect Guard is going to come in handy a lot more often nowadays. But what she does is she's a Glimmer Breath clone. Generation Break 1, when she's called to the rear guard circle, you counterblast 1, soul blast 1. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Thavas in his card name, you pay the cost. If you do, she gets 2,000 power, and then at the end of the battle that she attacked the Vanguard Standards unit. Now, that's very important. At the end of the battle that she attacked a Vanguard. So, yes, she's a Glimmer Breath clone. And so what you can do is, like, let's say you just happen to be on Skiros. Well, if you stride into Thavas, now you have your grade 4 unit at with a Thavas in this card name. Then you can go into Adelaide and actually use her skill, because you do have a Thavas Vanguard. Or if you're just on Thavas, you can do it either or. But if you are on Lambros, this card is extremely good. So what you can do is call her out, do her ability, get 2K. You can swing at 11K at a rear guard. Then when you swing with Lambros, you restand her at 10K. Now they're staring at 21K attacks at the Vanguard, because you haven't used her ability once per turn ability at the end of the battle that attacked the Vanguard Standards unit. So this card is, oh, my nose is itchy. This card is very, very, very good, has a lot of uses. Now, the only thing I can say, the negative downside to her, much like a lot of the Glimmer, all the Glimmer Breath clones, is that at the end of your turn, once she becomes a 9K vanilla. She just comes a pretty face to look at a 9K vanilla. And generally in Aqua Force, what I generally preach in Aqua Force is that, with decks like Aqua Force and Nova Grapplers and things like that, we want units that do something. We always want units that are on the field that actually, do something for us, do something to help us out in terms of pressure. I don't like to play around with too many, vanilla type of things when it comes to Aqua Force or Nova Grapplers, for my boy Black Seed and whatnot. But this card, much like Claydol Mechanic and things like that, are an exception because of the turn that you get. Getting the maximum value out of her. She enables the 4th battle. She hits for 11, so she hits 11K Vanguards, and she has an ability where you can abuse her on a Lambros turn in order to get 2 21K swings on your opponent's Vanguard. So definitely look to me. Now, some people say play 2 first. Some people say don't play any copies of her. It's not worth it. Some people run 4. Personally, for me, guys, I really, really enjoy this card. This card has been putting in a lot of work for me lately. I actually have a build with her and a builds without her and builds with her at like a nice median range. It's up to you to find how many you want to play with her in the deck, because again, like I said, she does make the deck a little bit more counterblast heavy. If you're using her in conjunction with like High Tide Sniper and whatnot, there is competition, or Minesweeper, Mind Eye Sail or whatever. There is competition for the soul, but at the same time, she is a very, very useful unit. And so far I've been liking her at 3 to 4. Just being able to call her out, and even though it does take quite a bit of counterblast, sometimes it's like, hey, I get a restanding 11K. I mean, how much better than what that can you get? So definitely a good card. Again, just be wary that after the battle, she is a 9K vanilla, so you can use her as an attacker, to poke at some units, or you could just use her as an intercept and make room for another Adelaide. Next card we have on here is Torrential Ripple Podromos. All right, so as you guys know, Ripples have been taking the Japanese, Asian meta by freaking storm. Pretty much because their mechanic goes against the era, which is being able to beat somebody on grade 2 due to the grade 2 rush that it does provide, by way of Pavroth being able to hit and restand a unit, give 3K. Richard Sherman turtle. I can't remember the name of the turtle. I think I have the turtle. I have the turtle somewhere around here, but it's pretty much the 7K when you call it out to rear guard, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a 1 or a 2, call it out. If not, shuffle your deck. But this stride card is not really. It's one of those double rares where you really don't want to pull it unless you're fully committed to ripples and you just want a G zone for them. But I mean, what he does is that he's kind of like he's kind of like Maelstrom in a way, because what his ability is, you have to hit. If you have a hard card with ripple in this card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, and you hit a Vanguard, you choose you look at the top 5 cards in your deck, search for the 2 cards with ripple in its card name from among them, and call them the separate rearguard circles and shuffle your deck. So he pretty much gives you a +2 to your field, creating an extra attack, whatever the case may be, and it's good. But he's an on-hit Vanguard. Easily gets perfect guarded, and if he does hit, then you get to Persona G flip. So your opponent blocks it once. Okay, your opponent blocks it twice. Okay, so your opponent would have to block him 3 times in order for you not to get the reset, because then you just have one where it's just a vanilla stride and you're going to do much. But it's an okay card. It's not that great of a card, but for what ripples do and how ripples attack pattern is and everything like that, this is definitely a stride card you do want to get, just to put some pressure on your weird. It's kind of weird here. All right, so Blue Storm Battle Princess Limpia. Now the Legion for Aqua Force was excuse my French, it was ass. And this card does support. I was hoping that this card didn't say your Vanguard had to be in Legion, because if it didn't, this card would definitely be played in Blue Storms. But what it does is wave 3rd time or more, you counterblast 1 when it attacks a Vanguard and your Vanguard is in Legion. So she's a 12K attacker. You get to draw a card and it gets power 3 something in that battle. So what she's actually good for is, looking for those copies of, she adds a card to your hand. So, hopefully you draw into that copy of Milos, that copy of Michael, so you can do the Persona Blast to restand things. She helps, or just get that initial +1. Like that, yes, I got that. I got that perfect guard I needed, whatever it is. Now she is wave 3rd time or more, so she will probably be like, like the 3rd battle of the turn or more, depending on how your field is set up. Usually you'll have, if your Vanguard's in Legion, you'll have Starless, rolling around in a column somewhere. You'll have Milos standing up on another way. And then, you go into her as probably your last rear guard attack, then your Vanguard, especially if you're on Tetra Burst. You go into her, use her as your 3rd attack, counterblast 1, draw a card, and she gains 3K. And then, then you got Tetra Burst going in. So she's another card. If you guys still play the Blue Storm Legion, definitely a card you want to throw into your deck. I have the Blue Storm Legion. I don't have the full deck, but I have it. I just need to get another copy of I need to get 3 more copies of Michael. But if you guys want me to build the deck, if you guys want to, see how I would build the deck or whatever it is, I will build it for you guys. But don't expect me to play the deck competitively. The Legion deck just is in plus. But what the Legion doesn't even work with Stride. If I Stride on Lambros, you're no longer considered in Legion, meaning that you're negating Milos and Starless ability to switch columns and or restand. And so it's like, well, then what's the point of striding in the Aqua Force Legion deck? So it's just annoying. It's just annoying how they did it, but it is what it is. Not a card not a deck really that I'm looking forward to playing. Oh yes, we got to a good card. Writer Petros. All right, so he's your generic Thavas crit trigger. Throw in a soul. If you have a Thavas in this card, and throw in a soul, your Vanguard gets 5k and you draw a card. Now, is this card good? Hell yeah. Is it great in the Thavas deck? Damn right. So what you can do with this card, guys, and this is what like a lot of the what you do with a lot of these triggers. It's like, okay, Magnum Assault. We'll boost Magnum Assault. Swing for 13 on an opponent's Vanguard. Counterblast 1, restand. He's at 11k. Now, when we swing with our, swipe again, then we do another column. Then when we swing with our Vanguard, throw her. Oh, excuse me. Oh, it's like 2 in the morning. Oh, excuse me. Throw her in a soul. 5k to your Vanguard. Draw a card. Great. Now, if you are in a situation where you are using Thavas's GB2 ability, then she makes your Thavas if you just use one of her, at least 16k by himself, and your opponent can only guard with grade 1. So remember, your opponent, your card Thavas is a silent Tom with an extra critical, meaning that they're going to either drop 2 cards for a 1 to pass, 2 cards for a perfect guard, or 3 cards for a 2 to pass. Think about how many cards they're going to drop. So let me see, 1, 2 for a 1 to pass, 3 for a 2 to pass, 2 for another 2 for a perfect guard. So your opponent, excuse me, will definitely be dropping cards or intercepts, whatever it is. And with this card, it makes it better. And if you are able to boost Thavas, then that's even better. Meaning they're going to have to expend a lot more. From my previous experience playing with Dragonic Novel Vague, sometime last year, I got used to those type of numbers where it's like, hey, I'll just swing 13 on your Vanguard. Regardless of what you're doing, you're dropping 2 to 3 cards to block this skill, or if you're back to a wall, you're gonna be ballsy and hit and drop 1 and be like 1 to pass, something like that. So this crit trigger definitely has its uses in the deck. You definitely want to play 4 of this crit trigger. I don't think we got anything else in that crit trigger now to talk about. Podromos, we don't really have much to talk about. I'm just going to clear some tabs out. Oh, and look who we got too. Blue Wave Soldier Bright Shooter. This card is interesting. I have been testing this card out for a bit, and it's been okay. It's been all right. It sets up a lot of things, and obviously I'm going to get some more testing in with this card, but it's all right. It sets up some things. So what it does is 4th time or more at the end of the battle that it boosted, you get to, if you have a Blue Wave Vanguard, choose up to 1 grade 3 card from your drop zone and put it into your hand. Okay, it's good. You want to put him behind Tetra Boil. And when you do your restand with Tetra Boil, then that's when you use his ability. That's when you use the ability to get a grade 3 bag. So getting that grade 3 bag means that you get stride fodder for next turn. You get a rear guard for next turn. Perfect guard fodder. Ooh, excuse me again. It's just a +1 from your drop zone. Who wouldn't want that? So if you have him behind your Vanguard on Tetra Boil, is good. But a lot of times you're going to see him on the rear guard column, and you're going to formulate a strategy to attack with that column. Generally on the 4th battle, which generally be like the last attack from the rear guard, sometime depending on how you planned out your attack pattern on your field. So it's a pretty good card. It's an alright card. I'm still testing it out. I'm seeing if there's other options I'd rather use over him. But being able to get back stride fodder that you used and whatnot is still pretty good. Don't need that anymore. Okay, Bluestorm Battle Princess Stated. Now this is the card. my brother Jared, you guys probably see him in the chat section. Dual Sex 21. This is the card that hates him to death. This card really, really hates him. Only for the fact that he keeps damage checking it. Hypothetically, whatever it is. But this card is very, very good. I think this card is a 3 or 4 of. We've been running it at 4 of in our Maelstrom deck, and it's been working out very nicely. So what she does is simple. When this unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Maelstrom card, she's a 9k attacker. So at any point on your turn that she attacks, as long as you have a Maelstrom Vanguard, she's a 9k. And then on the 2nd time only, so only on the 2nd battle. Excuse me. Oh, God, I'm yawning. When this unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Maelstrom in its card name, this unit gets 3,000 power until the end of that battle. So she's a 12k attacker on the second battle, and she's a 9k attacker elsewhere. She is one of those. This gives us, guys. This gives us a really good 7k booster, but also gives us another card to put in your Rascal Sweeper column. When you're doing your Rascal Sweeper column, you'll go 11 at Vanguard, then her 12. You could do 12k at any unit. So if you're just poking at the Vanguard, 11, 12, then whatever, and then Maelstrom. Very, very good card. She's not restricted by Generation Break. Maelstrom is not the deck that I think a lot of people want to play the Grade 2 game against, because as long as you have a Maelstrom Grade 3 Vanguard, then a lot of these abilities start to kick in, and you can definitely counter like I fought a Ripple Rush deck with Maelstrom. He did the whole Pavros Odysius thing, and that was great and all, and I was pushed a bit, but I was just like, screw it. So I rode into Maelstrom. Had a Rascal Sweeper column, had Theta, had another Theta on the side, because that's all I had at the moment, and I was able to effectively counter rush him as well as search out another Maelstrom. And then the following turn, I was able to survive to the next turn. Reduce his resources quite a bit because the skills were activated. That I was able to break ride my Maelstrom and secure game, just overwhelm them. So this cards like this, that aren't restricted by Generation Break for Maelstrom, for Blue Waves, is definitely something that can help you counter the Grade 2 games. And since I know that a lot of people are going to be playing Ripples, they're going to be playing that Grade 2 game because, they're going to be hyped off the fad of what happened at that one Japanese tournament or whatever. This is definitely a card you want to see early and often when you're playing with Maelstrom. Definitely a good card. I love her. The artwork is amazing to me, and her ability is what really attracts me to it. So we don't need her anymore. All right, Blue Storm Shield Homeros. This card is actually a very, very clutch card in a lot of situations. A good shield is active in every situation in the war. Just like I said, my man. So he's a Sentinel, so he's a perfect guard for Blue Storms. Choose a card in your hand as guard. When this unit is placed on guard state, if you have a Blue Storm Vanguard, with Blue Storm's card and pay the cards, we do choose up to one of your units being attacked. So he is an old school perfect guard, but he can only block Blue Storm. I have seen some people, play this card in Blue Waves, in Thavas, and things like that. No, you cannot protect your Vanguard if it's not Blue Storm. If you're in a tournament and you block with this card, and your opponent actually pick the card up and reads it as whatever it is, and just looks at it, and you do not have a Blue Storm Vanguard, then it's like, well, you can't use his ability. So he's just a dead zero shield in your deck, and you're sitting there, sad for the rest of the tournament. I've seen this on Cardfight area too much. But his other ability is Rear Guard, wave third time or more. At the end of the battle that this unit boosted, if you have a Vanguard with Blue Storm's card name, Soul Blast 1, bounce it to your hand. So he's a bounceable booster. In Maelstrom, you rarely ever. Generally, you never use your soul unless you're playing like High Tide Sniper or Mind Eye Sailor, something like that. You never use your soul. So this is one of those things where it's like, hey, my perfect guard, I can use this to boost. So I can use this to boost, Maelstrom. I can use this to boost if you pop Mario's. I can use this to boost, Magnum Assault, have him restand, something along those lines. And then I could just Soul Blast and bounce it to my hand. So yes, you're going to reveal to your opponent that you do have a perfect guard in your hand, but you're going to get a boost off, which can change the numbers on certain attacks, as well as activating different abilities. And then at the end of the battle, third time or more, you get to add the card back to your hand. So like if you use Lambros, you don't boost with him, and then you boost with him after Lambros restand, bounce him to your hand. After you flip a drive, then you add him to your hand. That's 4 cards. Now you have another perfect shield in your hand, so you can use him if you need to for defense next turn, and then you can call him back out depending on how your soul is looking. Obviously, you don't want to you want to consider your options when using this if your only soul is Maelstrom and you're cross-ridden, but that's neither here nor there. But this card is very, very good, guys. Again, remember, you got to have a Blue Storm Vanguard, not a Blue Wave, not a Blue Storm. Well, no, Blue Storm Wave Dragon, so you can use him in Tetra Burst. But yeah, if it's not Blue Storm Vanguard, please don't use this card. Next we have Breaking Ripple Miltiades. Miltiades. I think that's how you say it. I'm not 100. I'm not 100 on it, but so he's the grade 3 Ripple. Now a lot of people don't really ride him again. The famous thing about Ripples is they do like to stay on grade 2 and rush you. But what he does is that, so you're Legion 2000 with Genovia. So if you guys got any copies of Genovia, send them to me, please, because I can't find them online. No, I'm just joking. And well, not really joking, because I want to build this deck, but I got to find them online because I sold my set like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Anyways, when he attacks a Vanguard, if this unit's in Legion and the number of rest units in your front row is 3 or more, you choose up to one of your rear guards, stand it, and you unflip 1 point of damage. That's pretty good. So you get an automatic restand by attacking, as long as so you attack with both columns first, then you attack with him, and then you restand one of your units. Okay, cool. Or you just attack with him and then attack with with one column, your Vanguard column, because your Vanguard column counts as 2 units in your front row since your Vanguard's in Legion, and then you get to restand that card. So it's still pretty good. So you a poke, Vanguard, restand, happy days. And then the number of rest units in your back row. Now this is where you would just attack with your whole field to restand. If you have 3 or more units in your back row and they're rested, you get to draw a card. So if you don't have 3 cards in your back row, and you are attacking, what you would want to do is you would attack with like an entire row, or you would just attack with a nice poke at something, swing with him, then restand that unit. So it's pretty. It's an okay. It's pretty good Legion ability. I wish if we had gotten this Legion during the Legion set, I would be happy. I would have been content with what happened for Aquaforce during the Legion era, but we didn't, and it's poopy. But his ability, when you ride him, you counterblast 1. It's an auto ability. When you ride him, counterblast 1. So look at the top 3 cards of your deck, search for up to 1 Ripple in his card name, add it to your hand, and put the rest into your drop zone. So you put into the drop zone a set for Legion, but you do get to add a hand. Now here's the thing though. This is a bit of a gamble, because sometimes you'll counterblast 1 and get 3 triggers that don't have Ripple's name, or get 3 cards that don't have Ripple in their card name. And sometimes, that's just the risk you're just going to have to take for that +1. Excuse me. Now, if you do miss, I do believe if you do miss, I think you do throw whatever you looked at into the drop zone, and I guess then you can Legion it back. So that's pretty much when you ride it, you get to Legion it back. So I guess it's pretty good. If you don't hit, I get to Legion. Set up for Legion, blah blah. It's all good. It's all kosher. So it's an alright ability. Generally you run 4 of this card and like 2 or 3 Genovias, because the main focus of the Ripple deck is on the grade 1 and grade 2 lineup. So you don't need to have too many Genovises, but it is good to have Genovia, especially for Genovia's limit break ability. The restand, your counterblast 2 and restand all of your units, and all your rear guard units. Pretty good. But yeah, it's an alright card. Now Marine General, the Sound Speed Nectar. Now this is one of the first wave cards to reveal. This adds a new type of engine, so to speak, to Aquaforce. And it's generally, I would just say, I would recommend this card if you're running a good majority of wave units. Like in Blue Storms, you do run a pretty good amount of wave units, so to speak. So what this card does is that at Generation Break 1, wave first or second time, when it attacks a Vanguard, you soul blast when he gets 2K, so he becomes an 11K attacker. So he's a really good unit to poke at your opponent's Vanguard with. And then at the end of the battle, you look at 4 cards on top of your deck, look for a wave card, call it to the rear guard circle that this unit is in, then you take this unit, put it on the bottom of your deck, and then you put the rest on the bottom of your deck. If you called a unit to the circle, you put him in the other bottom of your deck. If you don't call anything, then you just put whatever you looked at to the bottom of your deck. So he's kind of a risky card. Again, he's another one of those risky cards. Again, I would use this card if I have a good majority of wave units in my deck. But it's an all right card. I'm going to keep experimenting with this card some more. If you guys have experimented with this card, let me know. But so far, this card is like, it's okay. I have had him miss a few times, and yeah, he gained 2K for whatever it is, but I was pretty sad at the end of it sometimes. All right. Now this card, guys, has become one of my favorites. Battle Siren Melania. Or Melania, whatever her name. I call her Melly. So what Melly does is Generation Break 1, third time or more. Counterblast 1. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, if you have a grade 3 grade Thavas in its card name, because if you do, you get to draw a card and it gains 5,000. Plus, it has resist. So does this card replace Orthea? That's up to you guys to decide. Orthea turns a unit she boosts into a Tidal Assault for a Counterblast and a Soul Blast. So again, that's some competition for Soul with Adelaide if you're playing her. This card just costs a Counterblast you get to draw a card and she gains 5K. So she's actually really good on the Lambros turn. If you restand her with Lambros, you could, and you have a Counterblast available, she'll be at 22K without triggers, and you get to draw cards. She adds some draw power to the deck, as well as turning herself into a 12K attacker, as long as you have a Thavas Vanguard. But her resist ability is very good. Like I said, guys, you combined this card with our boy Skiros here, and you're using Melania as a booster, or you just have a column of Melania, which is I had before, and it's not really bad. Like I say, you have Adelaide and Melania, and you're on Skiros. Skiros is going to give them resist. Now that whole column, because Melania has resist, is going to have resist, meaning that Root Flare, Big Crunch, things like that cannot touch that column. That column is getting great value out of what it is. She, sometimes you don't even have to use her ability. She's just there to make it, just to be a resist rear guard, so that whether I have to move her to the front row or keep her in the back row as a booster, she's not leaving the field unless Root Flare or Big Crunch comes out and hits the column and I'm not on Skiros and there is something else in the column. Otherwise, she is not getting touched, and she is definitely a really good card. Now, again, she's one of these cards in the Thavas build that does make the deck a little bit more Counterblast heavy. Okay, I'm just checking volume. Just checking volume because I'm doing the thing on my phone too. But again, she's a very, very good card. I definitely recommend running about 2 to 3 copies of her in your deck. Does she replace Stacia in your deck? I don't know. That's up for you to decide, guys. For me right now, I want to incorporate her into the deck. So far, I'm running like 3 copies of her and 3 copies of Stacia in one of my builds. Other builds, I'm running 4 copies of her, 2 copies of Stacia, 2 copies of her, 3 copies of Stacia. It's just Stacia is free, and I've been using her for so long. I've gotten used to a lot of the different combo plays with Stacia. That free 9K from the back row has been so clutch for me. But Melania is definitely still a pretty really good card, and I definitely recommend finding some room to put her into your deck. It's raining outside. All right, so Flashing Ripple Odysius. Oh boy, let me take a sip of water before we get into this card. This card is possibly the most broken rare card for Aquaforce that we've gotten in a long time. This is the card, guys, that makes the Ripple deck good. If you're going to do the whole Ripple grade 2 rush, blah, blah, blah kind of thing sometime, this is the one card that gets the engine going. This is what starts the engine. This is the keys. This is the hot wires, whatever it is, to the car. This is like the quarterback kind of that Ripple deck, Odysius. So what he does is act once per turn. Choose one of your other rear guards, toss it into your soul. Search your deck for up to one card with Ripple in its card name with the same grade as your Vanguard. Write it as stand, shuffle your deck. If you rode, choose up to one card not named Flashing Ripple Odysius from your soul with the same grade as your Vanguard. Call it to the rear guard circle. That unit gets 2,000 power to the end of turn. So, like I said, what he does is you generally combo him with that weird. Let me see if I can find it. What are we done with? We're done with like Maelstrom. So let me see. Hold on a sec, guys, because you combo him. I'm just finding the name of that weird card. I have them right here. Tidal Rescue Sea Turtle Soldier. Turtle. This is who I call the Richard Sherman turtle right here, guys. So what you do is you use Odysius in combination with him. So what he does is when you're placed on the Vanguard or rearguard circle, like I said, reveal top of your deck. If it's a grade 1 or 2 Aqua Force, call it to rearguard circle. If not, shuffle your deck. So what this card does is allows you to obviously plus to your field. This card, you would call out the rescue guy, whether you plus or not. Okay, use his ability, throw him into the soul, grab one of the grade 2 ripples, Pavroth or Pavroth or the other new ripple card that we got in the set. What's the new one we got in the set? We got a new ripple in the set. Right here, Turbulent Ripple Laves. You get him or the grade 2 part of the ride chain. Ride it. Then take this guy out of your soul again. Call it to the rearguard circle through Odysseus's ability. Give it 2,000 power, and then you get its skill again. And you can keep repeating the skill. The more Odysseus you have on the field, the more times you can continually repeat this skill. The fact that I mean, to me personally, yeah, this card is kind of degenerate in a way. The fact that it gives what I would assume what this card would do would be like, maybe it should counterblast 1. It's supposed to fix your ride chain, but because you can call a unit out of the same grade and give it power, it allows you to abuse a previously pretty bad card and make it actually hit 9K. And if you have a 7K boost behind this, it's a nice 16K column. So this card is what gets the whole Ripple ride chain, Ripple rush, grade 2 game kind of thing started. It's kind of BS in my opinion. It is kind of BS, but it is what it is, and I'm going to be playing it because 1 is AQUA Life, because you know how we do with AQUA Life, but 2 is because like I said. If this is going to be one of the best decks of the format, I think I could build it. If I could build it, that means that I get to play test against it a lot more. I can get my brother and my other teammates to play test against it so they can formulate strategies with their own decks on how to beat it. And then I can, have them learn how to play with the deck as well. So not only will they know how to play those decks, but then I can get experience against somebody who knows what they're doing with the deck. So, that's how I approach these strong decks in the meta, like Revengers and things like that. I like to have these decks at my disposal so that I can get used to playing with and against these decks, so that I can have an easier time matching up against them when I go into larger tournament play. But yeah, so this card is this is the engine of Ripples right here. This is the new engine of Ripples. This card is very, very good. And he's probably going to be one of the more expensive rares. I want to put him at maybe $2 a piece, though that might not be expensive to some people. Hey, $2 a piece for a rare, I don't know. All right, so we can probably exit him out. All right, so Barris, I was about to say, Dominator Paris 21. Gabe, why did you make me say that? So Barris, Siren, Chloris. So she's actually played in the Ripple deck. What she does is 4th time or more, You Soul Blast 1 with this unit boost. Your pay cards you do, bind the top card of your deck face up. Okay, cool. At the beginning of the guard of the battle that your unit attack, choose any number of face up cards from your bind zone column. The guard circle is rest, and those units get shield 5,000 in bat. So she's actually a very interesting tech card that you know, it's one of those things where it makes me wish that Bushiroad actually had a side deck for. I wish Bushiroad had a side deck. Because against the new Narakamis, which is all about binding, against new Batamas, in which they buy, you know, they buy things even though it returns to your hand. This, when they buy stuff, this card is like, okay, well, you're gonna hit anyway, so I'm gonna take this grade 3 that you buy, and I'm gonna take these things like that, and I'm a guard with them. The grade 3s get 5k shield. They use this card in ripples because it's like, well, I'll poke with one column, I'll attack with Pavroth. If Pavroth hits, I can restand this column, and then I can swing with something else, swing with this column, and then I'll Soul Blast 1, bind the top card of my deck face up, and then now I have that card to shield with. So if it's a trigger, that's a 15k shield. If it's a grade 3, that's a 5k shield. So if it's a grade 1 or 2, it's a 10k shield. So she brings some a really neat defensive mechanic to Aqua Force. The downside to her for me is the fact that she's a 6k booster. If she was a 7k booster, I would definitely play. I would probably definitely consider playing more copies of her. I'm still considering probably teching her in at maybe one or two in some of my decks. Just to see how she molds well. Having her on the defense. Just in case I do have those matchups. Just one of those just in case things. If I see her, I see her. If I don't, I deal with it, whatever the case may be. But she's one of these very interesting cards that definitely takes some testing. And if you happen to like her, and she's and you have binding is very annoying in your meta, sure. And they revealed like the new Nubatama stuff that's coming out soon for that. And if Nubatamas just happen to blow up like that, I can definitely see this card being main decked at possibly 2 to 3 in a lot of Aquaforce decks in order to have some defense, using your binded cards to do that. Now, if they get binded face down, there's nothing you can do about it. But when they're binded face up, pretty good. All right, Blue Wave Dragon, Dagger Master Draco Kid. This card is extremely good for Blue Waves, guys. So what it does is a Generation Break 1, Counterblast 1, put this unit into your soul, choose one of your Vanguards with Blue Wave in its card name. Until the end of turn, it gets auto, wave second time or more. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, draw a card. And then wave 5th time or more. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, this unit gains crit +1 battle. So he's best used on Tetraboil. So with Tetraboil, again, like I said, you have 2 swings with Tetraboil. You attack, you counterblast 1, push him in soul, blah, blah. Attack, second battle you attack, you get to draw a card. Okay, great, nice +1. 5th time, you get to use this ability. You get to wave second time or more. You get to draw a card, and he gets an extra crit. So from this starter alone, when you're doing your Tetraboil plays, you're drawing 2 cards, and then the 5th attack has an extra critical until the end of the battle. That's pretty much it. It's plain and simple. Very good card. Now, the only thing is that this is probably one of those starters that's probably going to stay on the field a little bit longer than you want it to, especially against some decks that can pop starters. You can definitely push him into soul and use him on another, another star, another attack, whatever it is, as your second attack. But if you want to get the full value of this card, then you got to hope that this card, that your opponent doesn't do something to get this card off of the field prior to you going into Tetraboil. Otherwise, pretty good starter. And will I be running the starter? Yeah, I will. Your opponent won't think much of it, but if your opponents that are playing a deck that can get rid of it and know the potential dangers of this card combined with Tetraboil, will definitely work to get rid of this card. Blue Wave Soldier, Brutal Troop. This card is good too. Whoa, this card is good. And he's angry. Brutal Trooper. Why not? So what he does is you put it on top of your deck. If you have a blue wave Vanguard, you give it the ability that on the second time or more, you get to draw a card. So you shuffle this crit trigger back into your deck, and again, he's the same thing. He's the same thing as the starter. Second time or more, draw a card. Tetra Boil. Second attack, draw a card. Fifth attack, draw a card. Tetra Drive. Second attack, draw a card. Fifth attack, draw a card. Good card. Good card. Allows you to plus, negate some of the costs of certain things. Just a really good trigger, and it's a recurring crit trigger. How good is that? A recurring crit trigger that allows you to draw cards. Why not? Then you have Mind Eye Sarah. She's the grade 1 version of High Tide Sniper. Soul Blast 1/10,000. She's one of those cards where you just, because I got to get to bed soon, but she's one of those cards where you just, one of those cards where you tech her in. If you can't find space for High Tide Sniper in deck, or you just don't want to find it, you want to test her out. Bless me. Whew. Bless me. She's one of those cards where you just, one of those cards you want to test out. Go right ahead. She's a 17k attacker on the third battle of the turn or more. A pretty solid 7k booster in her own right. So she does add some offensive elements to the deck as well. And I was teching her in at 1 copy in my Thavas deck. Though she does compete with Soul for Adelaide. So, you just got to find the right formula for her. But she's a very interesting card that I thought I'd cover for a little bit. The enemy's at 7 degrees and in the ocean at 3 degrees. Okay, cool. All right, Kelpie Rider Mitolos. Now, this is the new starter for Thavas, and I think this card is actually very, very good. Now, Andre is still a good card, and it's up to you which one you want to play, depending on your playstyle preference. But so far, I've been testing him. He's been really good. So wave third time or more, when your Vanguard attacks, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Thavas in this card, meaning that if you're on Storm Dominator Thavas and you happen to have Jockey as your heart, this guy goes off. He goes off because you have a Thavas Vanguard. You get to search your deck for a grade 3 Thavas card, call it to the rearguard circle, shuffle your deck, and then at the end of the turn, return to your hand. So what he does is when your Vanguard attacks in the third battle, like Tidal Bore, attack with Tidal Bore in the third battle. It's like, I only have enough to get third battle. Well, this guy's ability kicked in. Go into the Soul, get yourself a +1 of Soul, Superior Call Thavas out of the deck. Now you have a guaranteed 4th attack activating Thavas's ability if you're on a Thavas. If you're on the Thavas Vanguard, if you're on the Stride, then it's like, okay, you get to his GB3 if you're using him at GB2. But you get to guarantee yourself Stride next turn, a rear guard to attack next turn, perfect guard fodder, or you get to ride, you use like, yes, now I can ride my Thavas Vanguard and, go in a bit. So this card has definitely been pretty good. And sometimes you will run into that risk of you like damaging your Thavases, drawing all your Thavases before you do get to use the ability. And yes, that does run that risk. Otherwise, but even if you do run that risk, it's like, sure, I will sit here and be a 5k booster. And sometimes it's like, you can still, on the third battle of the turn, you can still push into Soul because it says search for up to 1, meaning that you can search for none. And you can just throw him into the Soul for free and just have free Soul, especially if, but generally only if all of your Thavases are used up. You want to do that. And if you need Soul for High Tide, for Mind Eye, for Adelaide, things like that. So this guy has definitely been pretty good. He saved my butt in a lot of games, being able to create a 4th battle by superior calling a Thavas. So I'm very, very excited about getting more testing done with this card. Then you have Demise Ripple Orist. Now this is another really good crit trigger for ripples. At the end of the battle of the unit boost, if the number of other rest units of Ripple's card name is 2 or more, you pretty much get to send this unit to the bottom of your deck, look at the top 5 cards from the top of your deck, add a card with Ripple in its card name to your hand, and then reveal it, shuffle, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck. So you pretty much attack with him, then your Vanguard column with him boosting, or you attack with your Vanguard column, then him boosting, and you get to what did I just do? No, cancel. you get to just add a card to your hand for free, and then again, and then you have a recurring crit trigger. For ripples, that's just really good. You know, it adds to the ripple rush. It helps that ripple rush. It helps keep getting ripple cards and whatnot to your hand. Keeps, you know, helps you search out your Odysiuses and whatnot. So this card is very, very good. And yeah, nothing more to be said about it. It's very good. And then you have Mission Messenger Gold Soldier. Now, people have been using this card, I've seen, and I've been meaning to test him out more. I just haven't had the opportunity to actually use him because I haven't been drawing it in because I probably don't run enough copies, whatever the case may be. So, Generation Break 1, wave 4th time or more. And then about unit booster return to hand. So we got some Bermuda. So we get a little bit of that Bermuda Triangle AQUA Life. Get to bounce the card to our, get to bounce him to our hand. Why do I keep hitting things with this mouse? But when you call him to the rearguard circle, you Soul Blast 1, you choose another of your units, and he gets 3,000 to the end of turn. Now, that's very good because that's not restricted by Generation Break. The bounce ability is. This card is not. And this ability is not. And that's actually very good. You know, you might think of like that old Blue Storm card or like Assault Command, you know, the 6K, that horse 6K that we got like in set 8, I believe, where you just call it to the rearguard circle, choose something, and it gets like 2K or whatever it is. Well, this guy gives 3K, so this guy is actually a pretty good card. You know, gives that 3K to like Tidal Assault or Magnum Assault, whatever it is. There's just a lot of things that you can definitely do with this card. I know that OTT has a similar card to this as well. You get to Soul Blast 3. They just got one for set 5, but this card is actually pretty decent. It's a 7K. It's a nice 7K booster. So expect me to be testing this card out quite a bit. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Now let me see. Let me go back to that. So yeah, I've pretty much covered most of the key cards of the set. Where did the rest of the set go? There it is. I pretty much covered most of the key cards out of the set. You know, we have cards like Battle Siren, Nicoletta. She's like your, if it hits wave second time or more, you get to do something. Hey, hold on 1 second. She's pretty much your, basic meh kind of card, like an earlier version at Generation Break of like Valeria or Algos. Not too great. And you have like cards like Timos who retire. So yes, overall this set was very, very good. It's something that we definitely needed, guys. Let me know if you guys wanted me to cover other cards. We can definitely talk about it in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed this, I need to sleep or whatever it is, and I got to go to work tomorrow, and I'm not trying to go in there grumpy and tired. All right, so this is Cardfightking, and we are out. Peace, guys. Hold up, we gotta see my face. All right, peace out.